Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Tastemakers podcast. This is, of course, the podcast where we talk through everything going on in the world of TV and film. What's new, what's good, not usually what's old, but sometimes. And I'm your host, Taran Armstrong. With me, my co-host, Grace Leeder. How you doing, Grace?
I'm doing well. Excited to chat about TV, even if I feel like it was a pretty slow television and movie week, which, it's the summer. It's Big Brother season anyway, Taryn. So,
Yes. I mean, I do feel like there's a lot to be watching that I can't because I'm busy with Big Brother. But in terms of new stuff coming out, yeah, not a ton. Not a lot going on.
To be fair, it's been such a good movie year. We talked about this. Was it last week that we did our top 5? Is it? No, that was 2 weeks ago we did it, because last week we talked about movies a little bit. It is a good catch-up time, I would say. Like now, there's not so much new out. So if you're like, there's been a thing you've been thinking about, I feel like now, you have some time before some of the big shows return. So
Yeah, I mean, check out the top 5 shows of the year so far that we did a couple weeks ago. If you are looking for ideas for things to watch, if you do have an opening in your schedule. Some things to talk about, though, today. Of course, the Emmy nominations were announced, so we will run through those. A couple of other pieces of news. Not the Colbert Report, but the Late Show with Stephen Colbert was canceled. That's big news. We'll talk a bit about that. Some of the new things coming up, some of the new things that came this week. Some movies and Untamed show started up. I did want to catch up briefly on Murderbot and Dexter, and then of course some upcoming things like the Fantastic Four movie. So we'll get into all of that today on the Tastemakers.
let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's just start with the Emmys. I feel like big, lots of news from the Emmys. I've got the list here if you're watching the video. I figured, I guess let's talk like any headline standout things overall, and then we can maybe dive into some of these categories.
I would say that the sort of headline to me is, and I don't think it's like that's surprising, but I think it is interesting because I do think there was a little bit of a reaction to Severance season 2, which is, oh, it wasn't as good as season 1. I think that was sort of like the feeling that was happening week to week. I've talked a little bit with Dr. Amanda and Ariel a little bit about, there was a way in which there was a little bit behind that show of like, nothing's really like not enough's happening. It's not moving along. And yet this show comes out and has 27 nominations, leads the way in terms of most nominations this year, which I think, like, if you think about that like these are critics and people who work in television that are voting for that. I don't think it's a huge surprise that you would say, oh, Severance got the most nominations. But I do think, like, maybe if as the end of the season, if you're thinking about like, oh, would it get the like, maybe not. I think that there was like there's been a bunch of really good TV, and in some ways Severance had a little bit of a dip. Although I think that that maybe not be like entirely what people think, but a little bit. I don't know. Do you agree with that, Taran? I don't know. Maybe I'm talking.
I think that something that I feel like I notice a lot is that the Emmys, the award shows in general, can sometimes be slow to like pick up on what's popular and what's good. And so Severance, and I think like the general audience is sometimes the same. And I think Severance is a show that people came slowly to. By the time the second season came out, if I'm not mistaken, it outperformed season 1 pretty dramatically in terms of its viewership. And while I am in the camp that it was a bit of a dip in quality, I don't think it was a dramatic enough dip for it to put a damper on the momentum that the show had. It was very, very popular and was still very, very good. And so it doesn't surprise me. I think it was the biggest show of the year so far in terms of, like its viewership and critical acclaim, and combined with a lot of people, I think, having watched season 1 probably fairly recently as well. It's all kind of combined into one big watch rather than just a wait of 3 years for season 2 that was maybe a little disappointing or maybe not. So I don't think it's too super surprising. I think some people would say the same of Last of Us, that like, hey, why is The Last of Us here when it had a little bit of a dip in quality? Some people might say the same of White Lotus, like it wasn't 100%. My favorite White Lotus season. But, these shows, they establish themselves, and then it's hard to kind of fall off the list unless you really have a clunker of a season or you lose a lot of popularity.
That's true. There is like sort of the notorious thing of like the Emmys really like particular shows or actors, and you said like Julie Louis-Dreyfus. I do think that performance in Veep is like incredible, but there's like a run of being nominated like every single year and winning for that show. I do think the point about the show, like maybe the Emmy voters, not that it's not worthy of being nominated, but a little bit of like, oh yeah, well we're all going to nominate Severance because when I was chatting with some of the cast members, one of the things that was really interesting that I didn't really think about, because I feel like post show recaps was very in on the ground floor on Severance and following it and thinking it was so good, was that they talk about there was a big difference between doing press for season 2 than there was during season 1. Where in season 1 nobody knew whether the show was going to be good, and so there wasn't as much of this fanfare. And there was this thing of like, as the show went on, yes, certainly people were like, are you watching Severance? And they would do it, but it wasn't like every single week it was an event like season 2 was. And so the Emmy sort of like reacting to that and like it being, at least season 1 being like the best show. It didn't win anything. It won some creative arts Emmys. It didn't win any Emmys into 2022. I certainly think it's going to win a bunch for this year. I do then think the other surprising is like the show that got the second most nominations is The Penguin, and that probably has to do with the fact that it had some pretty good acting performances that people really resonated with. And then I think if I look at the list, which I don't have in front of me, it probably ends up being like a lot of down the line, like limited series, like makeup, things, but it got 24 nominations, which I think is interesting to it, like, because I do think people really like that show, but I don't see it as like, I think one of the things people were thinking about is like, well, it probably won't win a lot because it's prestige, and it might still not win a lot. It could be a show that got nominated a lot and not win, but I do think like interesting how much The Penguin showed up on the list here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Let's run through, I think, some of the lists. I think that we can start with Outstanding Drama, of course. Nominated for Outstanding Drama: Andor season 2, The Diplomat season 2, The Last of Us season 2. There's a good bit of a trend. The Pitt season 1, one season of The Pitt. It's already nominated. But I think what you would say about that is that like The Pitt kind of does rest on the laurels of the very awards winning, highly acclaimed ER back in the day. I mean, that show won so many awards, so many Emmys. And so I think it has some built-in prestige coming into it. And of course, that gets into the whole lawsuit of it all. Severance season 2. Slow Horses, I think, is on season 4.
Season 4, yeah.
Then The White Lotus season 3, and Paradise also comes in with a season 1 nomination for Outstanding Drama Series. Although I would say, again, to some degree, coming in on the backs of This Is Us, which was also a pretty relatively, I would say, acclaimed show. Plus on the back of a very, very good performance by Sterling K. Brown, who I think is a bit of an awards darling as well, in my opinion.
There was something about Paradise. It kind of popped up. I mean, Rob and Chappelle started podcasting about it because I think like it had a little bit of like the buzz. It had a couple episodes that people were like, "Oh my god, that is amazing." So yeah.
I mean, I think it's a pretty good list. I don't think that. I mean, what was our top 5 list of best shows of the year so far? We had The Pitt.
We definitely had The Pitt. So I'm just trying to think whether we had Andor, I believe, as well. And then I think 2 of them are gonna like they'd be in different categories because we would have
like the bear should be in this.
I know, but I for the sake of this, I'll just say it is a comedy. We also, I believe, had Adolescence. So
that's going to be in the miniseries though category.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So our top, like our top, like we had Severance and The Pitt, Andor, Adolescence. The Rehearsal was our top 5, basically.
So The Rehearsal seemingly the only one not nominated for like a best of.
Do you know what that's the audience score? I'd have to. Yeah, I have to.
I see.
Yeah, but
I also had Squid Game in there. Squid Game not nominated.
Oh yeah, I would say Squid Game is maybe one of the surprises. I would say in terms of like could have been. Yeah.
Although it also like just came out. Like I don't know what the cutoff is actually.
Oh, that's that's.
I guess season 2 could have been nominated theoretically. Maybe.
Although
I don't
when
know.
did that come out? Because yeah. So I believe it's like May 30th is like the cutoff date, and then voting starts basically right after that. So if it came out in June, it would not be eligible. So yeah, okay. So not Yeah. Yeah, we basically have yeah. I think this
Well,
is in line. Slow
obviously,
Horses is one we didn't have. I really like Slow Horses, but
mhm.
yeah.
Obviously, the Pit would be my pick here. But would it be yours as well, Grace?
Yes, I would say the Pit is the best show of the year.
What do we think is going to win, though?
I do think there's a really good shot that Severance could win. I do
It
think
seems like
just
the front runner.
yeah, I think it's the front runner. I don't think anything else is even particularly close. I think this is Severance is the likely one, and I think you could maybe win some money if you bet. Not that I encourage gambling, but the Pit as like an underdog. I think it has a really good shot to kind of like upset win. So we'll see.
Yeah. Outstanding comedy series. We got Hacks, Abbott Elementary, The Bear, Nobody Wants This, Only Murders in the Building, The Studio, What We Do in the Shadows, and Shrinking. Of course, headline here being that The Bear is yet again, despite controversy, nominated in the comedy category.
Okay, and then the other thing about this is a nomination for the Bear season 3. This is not a nomination for the Bear season 4, and the Bear season 3 was pretty heavily like panned. People didn't like it, although I don't think with critics, but I think that there is absolutely no doubt that the studio is by far the front runner for this award. There is something about the studio that sort of I think has percolated. I think it's because it's like a show about TV, like film,
Mhm.
like movies. That I think like particularly people who work in television and film have really, really liked the studio. And if you do look at a lot of the sort of the odds, I do think the studio is sort of the front runner. I think the Bear, I would be very surprised if it won. Hacks obviously kind of like I think gets a little bit potentially dethroned. It won last year, but potentially because of the studio coming in. This is a really good slate of television shows. Like if you haven't watched any of these, you should go watch whatever ones you haven't seen. Basically every
Mhm.
show on this list I like a lot. I think you butt up a little bit with Only Murders in the Building if I'm remembering
Yeah.
correctly, but I love it. I think it's very good. This is a strong list of films.
I mean, I think by its nature, I think comedy is going to be a little more like hit or miss. You know, if it's just not your flavor, it's not going to work. But yeah, I mean, I think that these are all pretty well respected shows. Actually do think the studio would deserve a win here. I think that Hacks would as well. Although I will say Hacks does verge onto dramedy territory, but
100%.
it's still better than The Bear, which is not even remotely a comedy. Um,
You,
so
I agree with
yeah.
that. I do think Hacks had its weakest season so far, and I feel like you could sort of feel like there's no confirmation on this, but they've said they have a 5-year plan. I feel like you could feel them
Mm,
moving the pieces to get to season 5. That being said, I thought it was still very good. The other thing that like people really love here is Shrinking. I'm a
mhm.
little bit, I think like half a season behind on Shrinking. People really like Shrinking, and I honestly think there's years where like you could Shrinking could win, but it's up against the studio, the Bear, and Hacks. Like it might
Yeah.
actually be 4 out of 6. In another year, it's 1 of 6. So
Yeah, it just never really caught enough fire and will likely continue to be nominated every season it makes, but hard to see it ever winning unless a lot of these other shows drop out, I would imagine.
yeah.
Um,
Oh,
go ahead.
no, Taran, you're about to introduce the stupidest category, I think, which is what does this even mean? What is a television
Outstanding
movie now?
television movie, meaning I guess that it was like designed at this point, designed for streaming. Back in the day, it would have been like designed for like a TV only release or like a VHS, VHS, like a DVD, like home video release only. Not in theaters, I guess, is another element to this. And man, the ratings on IMDb for these movies, I think, speak to what's happening here. Nothing above a 7.
Yeah, people really liked Nona's. That movie was Rebel Ridge. I really like Rebel Ridge. I think that's Rebel Ridge is probably the front runner. I could see maybe some Mountain Head love because again, we're talking about like it's not a fan vote, it's a critic vote. But I think Rebel Ridge probably wins here. But this is such a silly category that it's like, I do get it in the old day where it was like a made for TV movie. It would be on like NBC or whatever. That makes sense to me. In the world of streaming, this category really makes no sense. And there used to be, I believe, there was a rule where if you campaign for an Oscar, you couldn't then campaign for an Emmy. And now it's only if you don't win that I believe you can then go. And I might be mixing up maybe
Hmm.
the category, but I believe now you just, as long as you if you campaign and don't get nominated for anything, you can then run in the Emmys. So feels bad.
Well,
Feels not good.
it's having watched only the gorge of these, I'm astonished that it is nominated for an award.
Yeah.
Outstanding lead actor in a drama series. Noah Wyle, The Pitt, Adam Scott, Severance, Sterling K. Brown, Paradise, Gary Oldman, Slow Horses, Pedro Pascal, The Last of Us. I mean, it's just banger after banger. These are all incredible performances.
Yeah, I think Noah Wyle probably has the sort of, he's the lead
I think
here
if Severance
probably,
is
but
if
oh yeah,
Severance
sure.
is like winning outstanding drama, I feel like the consolation prize is Noah Wyle gets best lead outstanding lead actor, right? Like that's kind of the. I feel like that's sometimes how the voters work.
There's a particular performance in here that I can't really talk without like giving spoilers away for the show, so I won't do it. But if you get what I'm getting at, there you could see maybe they're like, we should give it to that performance, so that, because we can't
But
say
at the same time, it's like, does it even qualify at that point? You know what I mean? So
I'm pretty sure Noah Wyle, even I mean, I really like Adam Scott, obviously, and I believe Noah Wyle is like far and away the front runner for this. So, like, betting odds have him like he's like an 80% chance to win or something.
that makes me very happy. Very happy for
So
Noah Wyle.
good. He's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's listen, it's hard to compete. The guy's been doing this basic thing for almost his, like, not almost his whole career. He took quite a long break, but like he has a long history. And he really just fit right back in, like there was no break at all.
Like a surgical glove. Fit right.
Truly. Outstanding lead actress in a drama series: Kathy Bates in Matlock, Britt Lauer from Severance, Bella Ramsey, Last of Us, Carrie Russell, The Diplomat, and Sharon Horgan, Bad Sisters. I've not seen Matlock. Of course, I did catch Bad Sisters, Severance, Last of Us, and The Diplomat. I'm quite fond of all of these performances. I have to imagine Britt Lauer maybe is the leader here.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up who is the front runner here. I would say, for my money, I think Kathy Bates. I can't remember if she won the Golden Globe or she won the Emmy. Kathy Bates is the favorite, actually.
Interesting. I mean, obviously it's Kathy Bates, like, but Matlock is a bit more of a procedural, if I'm not mistaken. So
But
they don't usually.
Yeah, she won last year. Again, I can't remember. She won an award last year. I would really love Britt Lauer to win. I wouldn't mind Britt Lauer winning. Sharon Horgan is a one that I think people were like surprised that Bad Sisters got any nominations for its most recent season, but I can't comment on. I haven't caught up on it, but I think that was one of the other surprises in there.
Carrie Russell is phenomenal in The Diplomat, and I'm also very happy to see Bella Ramsey get a nomination here, especially with all of the nonsense happening with The Last of Us criticism. So, honestly, it's going to be hard for me to be dissatisfied with any winner in this category.
I would agree with that.
Outstanding lead actor in a comedy series: Jeremy Allen White, The Bear. Martin Short, Only Murders, Adam Brody, Nobody Wants This, Jason Segel, Shrinking, and Seth Rogen, The Studio. I mean, this is just not fair. Jeremy Allen White is not giving a comedic performance, in my opinion. I haven't watched season 3, but having seen much of the first 2 seasons, nothing about his performance is comedic. And for that reason, honestly, I think Adam Brody was phenomenal in Nobody Wants. I think that Adam Brody made that show work.
Adam Brody is so the reference I'm using is Gold Derby. Variety often has very good odds things as well where they predict, but I really like Gold Derby. They currently have Seth Rogen as the 76% chance to win. I don't know that I like agree with that, but there is clearly just the studio love that is happening. But Adam Brody is 4th. Jason Segel only below him. Martin Short is in 2nd, and I do think if you look at Jeremy Allen White sort of sitting in the middle, that's a little bit of like, for some reason, I think that like the wave of backlash against The Bear being in a comedy has not necessarily been happening in terms of like its potential to win best comedy, but I do think there is something about that. It feels like I'm giving Jeremy Allen White the like comedy award. Like I don't
Right.
think so. I don't think that works. Although he did win, I think, for season 1. So it is what it is. Seth Rogen, the favorite. I would probably agree with you. I might go with Adam Brody. I mean, the other way you could do this, like Jeremy Allen White gives the best performance in a comedy rather than somebody who gives the best comedic performance. You know what I mean? But
Yeah. I mean, for what it's worth, from what I've seen, at least Seth Rogen does give like a more straight up comedic performance than even Adam Brody. And Adam Brody, you might just say, is kind of like playing himself to some degree. But you know, when it's a show that like just really works on the strength of the performance, I tend to lean in that direction.
the one thing I would say about Seth Rogen, just very quickly, is that like
Mhm.
I do feel like that show maybe doesn't work as well if you don't have somebody in that lead role who is carrying sort of like the absurdity of the thing, like a lot of oneers and things like that. And he wrote that, like, I do think that there is something to saying that Seth Rogen actually does kind of like hold that show together in a way, just because it is pretty absurd and over the, like, I know it's like a real, people feel like it's a realistic performance, but there is something about it that
He is very good in it. I would not be upset with a Seth Rogen win here. Yeah, I think he is very good. Outstanding lead actress in a comedy series, Uzo Aduba, if that's how you
yep,
pronounce it,
yep.
from The Residence, which I believe was canceled.
It did get canceled
So
during their their
yeah,
run of campaigning. So
whoops.
oops, Netflix. Yeah.
Kristen Bell, Nobody Wants This, Quinta Brunson, Abbott Elementary, Io Edeberry from The Bear, and Jean Smart in Hacks. Jean Smart's just been cleaning up the last couple of years, right?
Yeah, she's the favorite again with like a ginormous odds on percentage that she'll win. I do think this kind of to me feels like a little bit in the vein of like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, where people are just like, yeah, she's really good, we'll just nominate her and then she'll win. I would love to see Io win, but I don't, it does seem like all odds point to Jean Smart winning. So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, hard to argue. Having seen a tiny amount of many of these shows, I mean, she's incredible in that role. I mean, she's just felt like she's born to play that role. Um, Outstanding lead actor in limited and or anthology series or movie. Colin Farrell, The Penguin, I have to imagine, is the favorite.
yes.
Stephen Graham, Adolescence. Jake Gyllenhaal, Presumed Innocent. Cooper Koch from Monsters, and Brian Tree Henry in Dope Thief.
So yeah, Colin Farrell is the favorite, but Stephen Graham is second and has like, a little bit of odds. I think like a
mm,
25-ish% chance. So I think he's really good in Adolescence.
he is.
I think Colin Farrell is also really good in The Penguin, so that's fine. So happy to see Brian Tyree Henry here. Get the opportunity to chat with him twice about his role in Dope Thief. It's a very personal role. I was so happy for him. I don't think he's gonna win, but yeah, very happy that he
I mean,
did.
from like the one episode I watched, his performance was probably the best part of that episode. So understandable nomination here. I did love Stephen Graham in Adolescence. It's hard to compete with Colin Farrell in The Penguin. That's just like such a wild performance.
It's such like a performance too, in terms of
Yeah,
like he's got all the makeup, he did all the work. I think that there's something to like awarding that, and
you.
also there is a silly thing, but he's very good at award shows, and he's very good to have like on stage. And I know that like if you're like an actor voting for best actor, like I'm sure that this doesn't come to mind, but he's like I think that they'd be very happy for him to win as well.
I mean, like Colin Farrell is like a movie star
Mhm.
who you recognize him in any role
Right,
he's in, and in The Penguin, there's not a trace of him.
100%.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Um, Outstanding lead actress in limited or anthology series or movie. Cate Blanchett, disclaimer, she's very good in that. Kristen Milotti, I heard very good things about from The Penguin because I never caught up. Michelle Williams, Dying for Sex, she's good in that. Megan Fahy in Sirens, and Rashida Jones in Black Mirror.
I feel like a Black Mirror nod is like kind of surprised. I feel like Black Mirror had like no critical like reception at all this year. So like they're
I
getting
did
some
watch,
nominations.
yeah, I did watch that episode. I mean, she was good in it. I wouldn't call it like particularly stand out to me, but
Yeah, I don't know that
um,
there's a better like actress performance. Maybe I think it's probably the best one of the series. But yeah, this is Kristen Miliotti's I think to lose, and I think people are going to be really mad if Michelle Williams starts to gain ground and actually, because I think people have been like annoyed that Kristen Milioti didn't get. Did she not get nominated at the Golden Globes? Or didn't win at the
I think
Golden
that was the
Globes?
case. Yeah, I think she was snubbed.
And so
That's
she
my
is the
memory at least.
she is the favorite so far, but I do think Michelle Williams, if she puts together a pretty good campaign, could like maybe start to like eke out a little bit of the lead and maybe take it. But yeah, for now, Kristen Milioti. is the favorite.
I don't think enough people watched it, but Cate Blanchett is
She's
really good in Disclaimer.
I agree. I mean, yeah, I really love Cate Blanchett. Yeah, Megan Faye is the lowest there on the list with the lowest odds, but yeah.
Outstanding supporting actor in a drama series: Walton Goggins, The White Lotus; Jason Isaacs, The White Lotus; Sam Rockwell, The White Lotus; Zach Cherry, Severance; Tremel Tillman, Severance; John Turturro, Severance; and James Marsden, Paradise. I mean, I feel like Tremel Tillman has the most.
This is Goggins versus Tillman. It seems
Okay.
to be the bet. It's probably one of the closest odds race right now. I think that Tillman will start to like pull ahead, and actually, I would like Tremel Tillman to win. But if Goggins won, that'd be fine. But
I mean, I'm a massive Goggins fan, but his White Lotus performance, not his fault. It just isn't one of my favorites personally.
yes, I would agree. Yeah.
I mean, they're all good though. Every single one of these, I'd give it to. I mean, James Marsden's great. Zach Cherry is great. Like, they're all great. Outstanding supporting actress in a drama series: Patricia Arquette from Severance; Carrie Coon, The White Lotus; Catherine Lanasa in The Pitt; Parker Posey, The White Lotus; Natasha Rothwell, The White Lotus; Amy Lou Wood, The White Lotus; and Julianne Nicholson in Paradise. I mean, how could I not give it to Carrie Coon?
Carrie Coon is the front runner, with Parker Posey being
Let's go.
in second, so it's a bit of a White Lotus off. Catherine Lanessa from The Pitt
She is very good in The Pit.
is about a
Phenomenal
10%
performance.
odds at the moment, but it does feel like it's Carrie Coon's. I think I mean, people just love Carrie Coon, I think so. Not that
I
doesn't
love
mean the
Carrie Coon.
performance isn't great. Like, I think that she's really good. I think Parker Posey is like, it's fun to imagine if she won. Like, she could, but
She was so hammy in that,
no,
in a good way.
tsunami, but I don't think ultimately I think this would be Carrie Coon. And I feel like if you're gonna vote for one of the White Lotus shows, like, then you're gonna split the vote there between two people. So yeah.
Outstanding supporting actor in a comedy series: Ike Barinholtz, The Studio; Coleman Domingo, Four Seasons; Harrison Ford, Shrinking; Eben Moss,
Bacharach.
from
Yeah.
The Bear; Bowen Yang, Saturday Night Live; Jeff Hiller, Somebody Somewhere; and Michael Urie in Shrinking. This is maybe Ike's.
It's Ike and Harrison Ford, both at about 40-ish% odds. So not really sure. Eben Moss Bacharach, who's won this award before, at 8%. But again, people were down on season 3 of The Bear. Yeah, Ike, or the classic battle of Ike Barinholtz versus Harrison Ford. I would like to see Harrison. I think like, that's a moment of him being up on stage winning. The thing about Ike Barinholtz is there's a bit in the studio about people thanking his characters at award show.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine, if you want to just like pick a bingo card, people thanking either Ike Barinholtz or his character from the studio will be a
gotta
running
happen
at the Emmys this year, I think.
It's got to happen. Jeff Hiller is very good in Somebody Somewhere, although it's, again, not exactly what I would call a comedy. But lines are blurry. Outstanding supporting actress in a comedy series. Oh boy. If you know a name, please.
Lisa Colon-Zayas.
Thank you.
From The Bear. Yeah.
Hannah Einbinder in Hacks; Catherine Hahn, The Studio; Janelle James, Abbott Elementary; Catherine O'Hara, The Studio; Cheryl Lee Ralph in Abbott Elementary; and Jessica Williams in Shrinking.
I think this is interesting for you. I like kind of like this game of like, who do you think the front runner is, and then I'll reveal it. So Lisa Colon-Zayas won last year. I will say.
I'm almost feeling like it could be Catherine O'Hara.
So it's actually Hannah Einbinder seems to be the favorite, with Catherine O'Hara in second. So I feel like this is another one, and it's actually like Hannah Einbinder has like a pretty big lead, I think. But I do think Catherine O'Hara could. Like, she's the thing about her role though in The Studio that I do think, in terms of like, she is so much more like, the thing about Hannah Einbinder being a supporting actress in Hacks is, to me, like, yes, again, like, there's a little bit of comedy fraud, and I get it that like you put Jean Smart in lead, and so you put Hannah Einbinder in supporting, but Hannah Einbinder like is Hacks much more than Catherine O'Hara like is The Studio. You know what I mean? And so I think that's probably why Hannah Einbinder will end up winning this over Catherine O'Hara. But as a, in terms of supporting, it's a great.
I mean, I like Hannah Einbinder's performance better than anyone else here. I really like her in Hacks, but she's not a supporting actor in that show, and therefore I would personally disqualify her.
There you
And
go.
I would probably give it to Catherine O'Hara. I really like. I mean, Catherine Hahn's good in the studio too. I just don't watch enough of Abbott Elementary or Shrinking and of course I don't count The Bear either. Um, but I think Catherine O'Hara is very good in the studio. The way that like her character almost feels like it would be one note, but then there's actually so much more, and the way that she carries some jokes is really really effective. So
I agree
yeah.
with that. Yeah.
Outstanding reality competition program.
This is our jam right here.
Drag Race, Survivor, Amazing Race, The Traitors, and Top Chef. I mean, listen, personally, how in the world is Amazing Race still being nominated? The show is clinging to life.
That's exactly what Matt Bellany said on the studio of like, we have to stop letting Amazing Race. Like, yes, is it beautiful? Have they done the same thing for many years? Yes. I'm behind on the Amazing Race. Sometimes I'm like, I should catch up on the Amazing Race, and I never do. I don't think Traitors is the front runner here.
It should be. I mean, it's not my favorite show, but it is the current reigning champion of reality television.
Drag Race has won this award in the past. Nice moment where they like often bring the drag queens on stage, but it does feel like the Traitors has sort of like become, the it's girl of reality television these days. So yeah.
Outstanding directing for a drama series. This is where we start to get a little more niche. Yeah, like I don't know if I have like a specific opinion. Like I couldn't even which episode is 7 a.m. on the Pit. You know what I mean? Like
Probably around the pilot. It's got to be right, or is it the finale? I guess it could be.
7 a.m. is the pilot. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a really good.
It's a very good pilot. I don't know if it's the best episode of the show, but I guess it's also like the one that most people are likely to have watched, perhaps.
Well, a thing I can tell you is that sort of in these like down the line categories, it does seem like Severance and the Pit are to some degree, Andor is in there a little bit with writing. Like it does seem like
okay. Having seen which episode this is for Andor, I'm giving it to Andor.
That's for writing or directing?
Directing.
Yeah. So the thing about these ones is I do think they're a little bit harder to like predict. So like for example for directing, like they have Cold Harbor for Severance. Is that yeah they do have Cold Harbor
yeah,
as the favorite at like 55%, but then like the Pit and Andor are both at 22%. So first, and actually for the Pit, it's actually the 6 p.m. episode. So they've been nominated for both 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. Is that right?
Oh, I don't even see that in here.
Interesting.
IMDb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Andor episode, I believe it's 8. Who Are You? Probably my favorite episode of television this season, this year. And the direction is phenomenal. So
I agree, and
I would go with.
I think what I said is I thought that was the best batch of episodes of all of Andor, and so therefore that has to be basically the best, in my opinion, the best episode of Andor. So, yeah.
Directing for a comedy series. This is going to be even harder for me. The rehearsal in there. Pilot's Code.
Yeah.
Which one is Pilot's Code? Let me check.
I believe that's the finale.
It's episode 3. Oh no, I know. I don't know which one this is.
Oh yeah. Okay. They have this going to. Although again, I don't think these odds are. Oh no. I have 2 different lists pulled up at the moment, but the studio seems to be the favorite for the Oneer.
The Oneer
is obviously the one with the Oneer. Yeah.
I would give it to Pilot's Code, but I wouldn't be that mad about the Oneer. But man, Pilot's Code is a great episode.
The interesting thing about that story, that Bear episode is Napkins, which is Ayo Edebiri, the episode that she directed. So that's kind of interesting. If she won, she would get to
very cool.
So yeah.
Outstanding directing for a limited or anthology series. How do you not give this to Adolescence?
Yeah, I agree. It's for
sure. I don't even care what the other ones are.
Yeah, it's for sure the favorite. Yeah.
Outstanding writing for a drama series. White Lotus, Severance, The Pit, Andor, Slow Horses, The Pit again. A couple episodes for The Pit. You got Cold Harbor for Severance, Full Moon Party for White Lotus. Welcome to the Rebellion for Andor. Welcome to the Rebellion. Isn't that episode 1? No, it's episode 9. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, no. Now I know it. No. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense for Andor as well. Man, that's actually tough. This is a pretty stacked category.
I believe that the fans have it as Cold Harbor to be the best written, which is, if you've watched someone, it's the finale of season.
Wasn't my favorite. But yeah, I mean, I would give it to Andor here again. Outstanding writing for a comedy series, the studio, the promotion, Hacks, Slippery Slope, which is the one that keeps getting nominated, the Rehearsal, Pilot's Code. Yeah, I'm going Rehearsal again there. I'm gonna say
the favorite is the studio or Hacks, I believe.
Yeah. Writing for a limited anthology, Adolescence, Penguin, Black Mirror, Dying for Sex, and Say Nothing. I'm guessing Adolescence or the Penguin are the two frontrunners here.
Adolescence is by far the favorite.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Variety special. I don't have a ton of opinions on these. I did watch Kunk on Life. It was very funny.
I love Philomena. to say. Variety series writing is the no. This is
writing for variety special.
Let's see. I don't know if I have the favorite for this one.
No worries. We don't. I don't think.
I don't have it. So.
This is not our specialty. Then just full on outstanding limited or anthology series. Again, I have to imagine Adolescence the favorite here. Even though the Penguin does have more nominations.
Yes, the Adolescence is the favorite. I think the Penguin gets just a ton of nominations for like hair and makeup and things that like a thing like Adolescence might not get.
Outstanding scripted variety series is just 2. Saturday Night Live and Last Week Tonight. Isn't this just Last Week Tonight's category?
Typically. So I think that there was. So it used to be that it would win talk show, I believe, is what Last Week, and then it got moved to variety. And I do think it's still. I think it does beat out SNL, but yeah.
And here's an interesting one: outstanding supporting actor in limited or anthology series with Owen Cooper. I think becoming the youngest nominee.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, and he's the favorite to win, so he would then be the youngest.
And a favorite to win, yeah, which is wild. Against Javier Bardem, Ashley Walters, Rob Delaney, Peter Sarsgaard, and Bill Camp. I mean, those are all very good performances, I will say. But Owen Cooper's, I will say, does kind of stand out on that list.
Yeah, Javier Bardem is the sort of, it's not even close to being the next favorite, but that's who you would maybe think could win. Actually, I love the Presumed Innocent nods here. These are actually the 2 that I would like give from Presumed Innocent. These are my 2 favorite from the show. So really
they would be my number 2 and 3, to be honest. I think.
I don't think we've talked about it. We'll talk about that at some point, that they've cast Rachel Brosnahan in the sequel. But
what I wonder if they knew she was in Superman at the time.
I believe they did. So yeah.
Clever. Outstanding supporting actress in limited anthology series: Erin Doherty from Adolescence, Deirdre O'Connell in The Penguin, Christine Tremarco in Adolescence, Chloe Sevigny, Monsters, Jenny Slate, Dying for Sex, and Ruth Nega from Presumed Innocent. Erin Doherty, is she the therapist?
Yes.
I might give it to her.
So she's the favorite right now. Jenny Slate and Deidre O'Connell kind of a little bit in there, but like not really close. It's like 80% for Erin Doherty.
Outstanding talk series: The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. This might be a good time to transition into the other news.
Yeah, this is just The Daily Show, Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel. Most people think The Daily Show. I do think, like, if you think about, there's a little bit less of like the traditional talk show format in The Daily Show that I think gets it probably a little bit of a bump over Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel.
Maybe if the news about the cancellation had come in earlier.
Definitely could. I mean, you can vote now. I think voting is open now. So yeah.
Exceptional merit in documentary filmmaking.
I talked about The Remarkable Life of Evelyn. I talked about it on the podcast, I believe. So I also like Diane. So yeah.
Outstanding animated program: Arcane, Bob's Burgers, Common Side Effects, Love, Death, and Robots, The Simpsons. I mean, I would say it's easily Arcane's, but I don't know what the Emmys do here.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
can't. I feel like I saw what the favorite was. I think it is Arcane, but I feel like maybe I was like surprised. But so maybe it's Common Side. No, I
I'm
think it
kind of
was.
surprised Common Side Effects got in here. I mean, it's very well beloved amongst its fans, but it feels a little niche. But I guess there's
Well,
not like a ton of
well, I do
well
think
respected.
the thing that happens about the Emmy, I think this is the way the Emmys and the Oscars work. And someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that like you only not the nominations you only nominate in your own category. So like you have to be like
Mm.
making animated. I believe this is right. Like
I
you,
thought that
I don't
was I
know.
thought that was the Oscars. It was like
It's
the
not
directors
both.
vote for the directing,
Not
and
both. Anyway, anyway.
it might be both. Um, Outstanding casting for comedy series: The Bear, Hacks, Only Murders, Shrinking the Studio.
Like this
Is
will
this
go to
just
this. It'll go to the studio because they
yeah?
like. I feel like you're gonna see it in like the guest star thing where it's like Scorsese and Ron
Mhm.
Howard, and they'll just it'll get it for that.
Casting for drama: Last of Us, The Pit, Severance, Slow Horses, White Lotus. This one I'd give to The Pit because I think they nailed it with a huge ensemble cast.
I would agree. I think it's like I'm so mad that there are many people who are on the Pit who didn't get nominated. So I would agree. It also could be the White Lotus though. I feel like the White Lotus is kind of known for its casting as well. I feel like
Mhm.
the White Lotus could be the one that pulls it.
Casting for limited or anthology: Adolescence, Black Mirror, Dying for Sex, Monsters, The Penguin. I mean, given that like every member of the Adolescence cast is nominated.
Yeah, I think it's either Adolescence or the Penguin with like a distant long shot of Black Mirror. Just because there's so like there's I think something that you have like, oh, we did so much casting for this show. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we did like
Mm.
6 episodes with 6 different casts, but yeah.
Casting for reality program: Amazing Race, Love on the Spectrum, Queer Eye, RuPaul's Drag Race, Survivor. Interesting. The Traders is not
Raiders.
here.
I know. I can't believe it didn't get on there.
Hmm. Um. I mean, yeah, I don't even know. I mean,
I
Love on
guess I would
the people like Love on the Spectrum. I
I
mean, if that
love
had a
Love on
good
the
season.
Spectrum, but I think I would guess that this will go to Drag Race. I think that there is something I think probably about the different
Hmm.
contestants. I mean, I think that could go to Survivor as well, but no,
Outstanding character voiceover performance: Alan Tudyk as K2SO.
I love that.
Stephen Yeun in Invincible. Those would be my two go-tos there. Um, Choreography. Okay, we're really starting to get into the
I
trenches
think
here. I
we're
don't want
getting
to
the
spend
nitty
too much
gritty.
time.
Let me just look through to
Um,
see if there's anything we didn't sort of talk about at a high.
Cinematography. You'd have to go to Adolescence, I think, right? Disclaimer, though. Um, Cinematography for nonfiction. Cinematography for reality. Um, Traders is nominated for cinematography for reality. That's not what I would say is Traders' strength, but
Okay, what about host for reality competition? What about so it's between Alan Cumming, RuPaul, Jeff Probst, Kristen Kish from Top Chef, Alfonso Rivera, and Julian Huff from
wow,
Dancing
there
with the
really
Stars.
are so
There's a
many.
lot. I feel like if we kept doing this, we'll be a little bit here forever. But do you think?
Host for a game show? No,
You think
that's
it's
not. That's
you think it's
host for
Alan?
a reality.
You think it's Alan Cumming
Um,
or you think Probst has got a shot? I don't think so, right?
I doubt it.
I think it's gonna be Alan Cumming with RuPaul as the long
Yeah,
shot.
you'd give it to Coming there. Every member of Shark Tank, is this just like really? We're
Yeah,
doing that?
yeah.
You looking for a donation? Like
Yeah, I don't think there's much else. There's some editing, makeup, costuming, obviously, like hairstyling, like a lot of these like creative arts
I
are
know the
being.
guest star,
Oh yeah,
I
guest
don't know what
star.
it's called, but it's like isn't it like every single member of the studio versus like one person?
Yeah, let me pull up because it should be Scorsese got nominated, right? So and Ron Howard. Let's see if I can pull him up. Oh, they're not pulling it for me.
Guest actor in a comedy series. It's Bryan Cranston, Dave Franco, Ron Howard, Anthony Mackie, Martin Scorsese, all from the studio versus John Bernthal in The Bear, which is not a comedic performance.
It's got to be Cranston. I think Cranston is so good as in
He
this.
really is,
So
yeah.
I think it's got to be him. Yeah.
All right, we got to move on from
Let's move on.
the
Yeah.
Emmys at this point. We did mention the Late Show with Stephen Colbert has been canceled. It will continue for a little bit longer, but it is going to end forever. The Late Show, because it's not just the Late Show with Stephen Colbert that's ending. It's the Late Show, which has been a bit of an institution for quite a while, will be ending for good. And of course, when I first heard this, I no extra context. I was like, okay, it tracks. I mean, the Late Show format feels very outdated to me, so it kind of makes sense that they would maybe just end the run of trying to make late shows happen. However, there's a lot of other context surrounding this that make it seem like perhaps that is not just the only reason, or maybe the any reason.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing about this is that without, until we basically learn more, the hard part is that we probably won't know what the reason is. Paramount, CBS says financial reasons. And the reporting says that The Late Show with Stephen Colbert loses about $40 million a year. I think that's what I had last seen. And so this is not a thing, which I think some people
That's a wild number to me, by the way.
Yeah, I do agree. I think the thing to think about is that it airs for like 40 weeks of the year, 5 nights a week, right? So like if you think about, how much television they're making, how much it's reliant on like I know that there's not like a lot to it. At the same time, it is like if you looked at a week's worth of program, I think that you had to pay all those people. Nobody's going on the show just out of the goodness of their hearts. You get paid to do that.
You could tell me the whole show cost $40 million a year, and I'd believe you.
Yes, totally. You think probably in there Colbert's salary is probably not, nothing. It's probably a good chunk of that too. So, yeah, and so the thing that I think was initially surprising about this news, and I think the immediate reaction was like, yeah, late night's kind of dying as a format. On the other hand, Colbert is, at least in terms of traditional metrics, the most watched late night talk show host. So he is the most watched at sort of the 11:30 time slot. That being said, he is the least sort of out of him and it's him, Kimmel, and Fallon, right? Who are kind of left. You have Seth Meyers, but he's at a 12:30 slot, so he's on after Fallon. Colbert does the least other things. So Kimmel has hosts what's it called? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire reboot. They're Fallon does some hosting on NBC. They both have much bigger YouTube and social audiences than Stephen Colbert. I think if you think about Colbert, he does feel like he's sort of weirdly, because I feel like for so long he wasn't this, but he does feel like he's for a little bit of an older generation than either Fallon or Kimmel.
Yeah, it was quite a transition from the Colbert Report to the Late Show.
Yeah, he became I don't know, kind of it feels to me like the dad of late night a little bit. And so I think the thing that people initially looking at oh, this is such bad news for late night if the most popular late night host, again, only according to TV viewers, he is being canceled. And I think that's right. That feels very bad. It feels very bad for me. The worst news that this is actually for Seth Meyers. So I think you're the 12:30, when they canceled Corden after Colbert, they replace it with is it After Midnight, which is more of a game showy talk show. It doesn't have sit down talk show vibes. It has a different feel that feels I actually mostly see it from social media clips. So I think it makes some sense. Then the other thing that happened was this comes 3 days after he had publicly sort of denounced the Paramount settlement with Trump, where they made a $16 million donation, basically calling it a bribe. And 3 days later, his show is canceled, and they're not getting rid of just him. They're fully canceling the show, which they likely have to do if and Trump's talking about it as if I hate Colbert and I want Colbert off the air. And if there's a sense of does it feel like they did this to appease the president of the United States? And if that's true, that feels pretty bad. It feels bad that could happen. On the other hand, my feeling is that it's mostly the first thing, and the second thing, it doesn't hurt canceling Colbert. If you're this is not making us money, we're not really getting much out of it, we could probably do something way cheaper that will go way more viral on social media. What could we do instead? Let's do it. And does it hurt that like Donald Trump is pretty happy that we did it and is going to let and I should qualify this. I think we talked about it on previous episodes, but the reason why they paid the settlement to Trump, even though most people feel like there was no there, it's basically because they edited the 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris, feeling like they gave her favorable coverage. They are trying to sell Paramount. Sherry Redstone is has the majority shareholder. They're trying to sell it, and Trump can basically block that sale from happening, unless he doesn't want to block it from happening. And most people think if you pay him $16 million, he might just let the sale go through. This is another way in which they might say, look, let the sale go through. We're willing to work with you. And that feels pretty bad. I think it's like a financial decision that isn't hurt by the fact that Colbert is a person who is on Donald Trump's radar as somebody he doesn't like. And so therefore you do it. And they're giving Colbert a ton of leeway, a ton of runway here to like talk about Donald Trump for basically another year, you know? So it's not like they just said, you're canceling, you're off the air now. So I don't know, Taran. What do you make of all?
Yeah, and well, I also saw this article that basically Trump is not exactly doing the narrative any favors because he's like posting like, "Haha, I love that Colbert got fired. I hear Jimmy Kimmel is next," because Jimmy Kimmel has also recently been saying things about Trump. And
Why wouldn't he
so
say this? You know, he can just say it
yeah,
and it doesn't matter. You know,
so interesting times, I guess, that we
bad
live in.
news. Bad news for the. I mean, like in terms of the late night format, I think that ABC will let Kimmel go as long as he could possibly want. So that's there. I don't think Fallon feels like he's in. And Fallon and Seth Meyers both have the thing of like Lorne Michaels and NBC is so tied together, and Lorne has their backs. And so the only thing I think that really could hurt Fallon and Seth Meyers is when Lorne leaves. So when like Lorne is done with SNL, and in that case, like there's lots of rumors that Seth is going to go do SNL once Lorne is done, right? So then like maybe they just end that show, Fallon, you know. But it doesn't feel like Fallon and Kimmel are in danger of going. But the thing that I'm interested is Jon Stewart is also on Paramount, CBS. He's on Comedy Central. He is doing the Monday Daily shows. As we're recording this, it is Monday evening. He'll do a show tonight. It'll be very interesting to see if he says or talks about it at all.
Well, because they have also been apparently this show is also in danger despite having ratings highs with Jon Stewart's return, and people suspect that it might be a similar situation.
And so, but the other thing too is I think the best example in terms of like, I think like if you think like, oh no, late night's in trouble, and if you really like late night, that's fine. But the other thing I'll say is like Conan O'Brien decided to end his late night show and instead do a podcast and like a documentary show. He's like traveling the world and he does his podcast. And I get a lot of Conan O'Brien in my life because I listen to the Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. I watched the documentary series. Like, I don't think, I mean, obviously I'm sad for Colbert in the sense that like if he wanted to do this for the next 15 years and he doesn't get to do it, like that's disappointing. And I do think he's really good at it. I think he's a good host. I like his interview style a fair bit. But does it mean there's going to be like no more Colbert? Like there is a way to make the type of thing that Colbert's doing. You look at the model that John Oliver has, where he does one show a week on HBO. Like that doesn't seem in danger of going anywhere. And maybe there's a format on some other streaming platform. Netflix has been talking forever about having a late night show. They obviously piloted a thing with John Mulaney. Does look like it didn't do like spectacular streaming numbers. So does Netflix take a chance on like a Stephen Colbert late night show? You know, like is there something to that? It doesn't really. I don't really watch late night. I watch clips about late night, and I think I'll get that type of thing somewhere else in the world. Like I'm not that worried about the idea. And actually, most of the parts of talk shows I don't like. Like I only ever watch the interviews if I'm like I hear something interesting happened or I get a 50-second clip from it. You know, like I don't know. I'm not that worried about this. Like the future of what is to, you know, I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly, Taran, but like,
No, I mean, like I think that's basically what I was saying at the start, which is like, it doesn't surprise me that late night might be dead because I think people have been talking about it dying for a long time. But there's just all this other stuff going on with it as well. All right, let's talk about some of the things that you at least watched. Untamed, some of it.
Yeah, I watched the first episode of Untamed. So it's about a park ranger in Yosemite National Park. He's like not a park ranger. He's actually like the investigative unit guy. He's like a detective. He's like a park ranger detective. And the part of the conflict is that like the rangers don't really like him because he always comes in when like something serious happened. One thing I'll say is like a thing happens in like the beginning of the episode that I've never seen before, and it absolutely terrified me. And actually, Taran, it is related to rock climbing. You know, maybe you should maybe watch like the first 5 minutes of the show. You don't need to watch literally anything else. I think the show is there's just probably not enough happening. It's not enough of an appeal to just have like the beautiful park, you know, in the background of all these shots. In fact, I even felt the beginning of the show, this thing that I thought happened, I thought it was a very cool idea, but I thought it looked very cheap. Where like it's obviously not shot the way it's, which like when you'll see they're like climbing a giant rock, like they're not going to film it like that, so it's fine. But I also just felt like it didn't look like, if the point of the show is like look how spectacular it looks, and the first thing is like sort of like bad CGI, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna I don't know if I'm gonna watch more of this. And then unfortunately the story just for me is not probably enough to keep me going, where like he has, you know, it's his ex and they, you know, they're kind of talking, but he has to move on, and it's just like not quite enough for me. In the way that I thought American Primeval like really kicked off really interestingly, I don't think this probably does enough for me. There is like a murder mystery element and more like a missing person element thing that he's trying to figure out, like who is this person who's died. That to me could be interesting if it goes anywhere, but I don't think I was hooked enough to keep watching more.
Well, there were a couple movies as well that released over the weekend, but I don't think either of us saw any of them. I Know What You Did Last Summer, Smurfs, and Eddington. I think to not amazing response in any specific direction. Eddington, I think people have been fine with so far.
There's also a corner of the internet though who says like Eddington is the best movie and people aren't just realizing it yet. There is that thing. I'm going to see it tonight. I was camping all weekend. Maybe that's also why Untamed didn't work for me. I was like, I got this. I was wondering. But there is, people are calling this like a modern Western. There is a little bit of like, it's extremely polarizing in the way that I think like some people are like, I don't get this at all. And then there is the like the big picture sort of like world, I think is kind of saying like, no, you don't understand why this is like a masterpiece, you know? So I'm so interested in going to see this tonight.
So yeah, compared to Beau is Afraid, that I think had a similar kind of response, Ari Aster's most recent film prior to Eddington. You know, the IMDb rating is 6.6 compared to the current 7.1 for Eddington. So perhaps the floor is a little higher, is sort of the vibe maybe. But I guess, Grace, you'll have to report back and we will see. Smurfs was panned. Nobody likes Smurfs.
People seemed to like not mind. I Know What You Did Last Summer, I think. It was a confusing thing that they did where it's not a remake. It is like a full sequel, which is very much in the vein of like Halloween from 2018, where it was like, why'd you just call this Halloween? Like it's like, because it's not the first one. And I think that, but yeah, 5.6 here. So maybe it is just really bad.
I mean, it's horror, so you'd expect it to be in that range, but yeah, it's not in the sixes, which is where you'd hope it to be. I think for this kind of like slasher-esque movie. So, you know,
Right.
And then yeah, like I said, the Smurfs did not seem to do particularly.
I didn't realize this was a musical.
Well, yeah, that's like Rihanna's in it.
I know, but I just thought she was like. Apparently, she's really wanted to be in this. Apparently, Rihanna's a huge Smurfs fan. That's what I
heard too.
Yeah, she like tried to get into this. Like she was like wanted this movie to happen. It's not like they were like, "Hey, will you please be in our Smurfs movie?"
I saw somebody say, I thought this movie was called Rihanna is Smurfette because that's on all of the posters.
Yeah, I feel like if you're advertising for this movie, which I did see a lot of TikToks where it was like, I think like Smurf advertisements filled my feed. They've tried really hard, but yeah, no, I don't think I'm gonna see this one.
All right, let's catch up just briefly. I did finish Murderbot season 1. I really liked the show. I thought this was such a good time. I actually feel like watching it in a binge was better, which is not something I will often say, but because the episodes were so short, and that really is the biggest complaint I saw about the show, is that the episodes were maybe a little too short, which is really not something I would normally complain about. I don't like long episodes most of the time. But but watching it just as one sort of continuous piece, I thought did actually suit it better for me. And you know, the bright side also is that it wasn't too long. So I just really thought it was a good time.
Did we talk about this last week? Got renewed, right? Did we talk about that last
It
week?
is renewed for a season 2, yeah.
Yeah, so that's fun. Yeah, lots of book material. Sarah Carradine was messaging me this week that she's a big fan of Murderbot. Had read a bunch of the books.
If you haven't checked it out, it's been renewed for season 2, so you've got that going for you. You're not going to just like run into a dead end, and it's an easy and fun binge. So I would definitely recommend giving it a shot.
I need to catch up. Yeah.
I'm also up to episode 3, which I believe is the latest episode right now. Correct. For Dexter Resurrection. And I'm just having a ball of a time with Dexter Resurrection. I'm really enjoying
really like
the
it.
show. It's my favorite show I'm watching right now. It's I'm just really enjoying it. It's so like goofy, but not in a bad way, and fun. And Dexter's back, and it's all. I mean, we named the episode last week like Dexter's back and better than ever, and I honestly feel that way. I feel like this is the best Dexter I've watched since like season 4. Like I'm liking it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's interesting that I think that it's both a reset and it's also not losing what it did in the meantime. You know what I mean? Like this is very much a show where like Harrison, his son, is very much wrapped up in what's going on. Angel Batista is in the story. And in ways it's reset in the way in which like, you know, the formula of the show is, can the serial killer who kills other serial killers kill other serial killers without anybody else finding out? And can he kill the serial killers he's trying to kill? You know, that's like the point of the show. And I feel like they've reset themselves to a point where like they can just do that, you know, instead of being a little more convoluted to that. Well, at the same time, I feel like here's what I feel like the sort of B storylines and the other characters are connected to Dexter, you know? And I know that sounds good, but that's the best thing about Dexter. Dexter's the best thing about Dexter. Yeah. And so you need everything to feed back into Dexter. And so the other things that are happening are not as, there's only kind of one storyline where I'll tell you, they like, I got invited to I talked to Michael C. Hall a couple weeks ago. Very impressed. I had watched the first 4 episodes and they were like, you can interview these people. And I was like, I do not know those people. I have watched the show. It's the FBI cops who are like investigating a murder. That's the only thing I think in the show that's like not doing it. And to me, I'm like a little bit, sometimes I want the show to be like feel more prestige-y, but I have to just keep letting that go and just be like, it's prestige. And I will say this upcoming episode is very like over the top camp in a way that I think people will very much enjoy.
I'm still waiting for like the premise of the season to properly start, which is the most ridiculous part of the season. Yeah. But I think a huge key to why this show is working, I think so far, is that Harrison has a properly compelling storyline of his own that is still connected to Dexter, as you mentioned. Whereas in New Blood, it felt like just annoying drama. This feels like, oh, he's got his own sort of mini Dexter-y thing to solve. And that is very fun. So yeah.
Yeah, and in New Blood, they did like, from what I remember, they do no killing of like other serial killers. That is the most fun part of like the serial killer waking up on the slab wrapped in the paper and Dexter's gonna kill them. That's the most fun part of Dexter, you know? If you're not
New
doing
Blood
that,
tried to take itself too seriously and tried to be too different.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
All right. And then we, of course, anything else that you watched?
I don't think I watched. I watched very little new this past week because I was camping. So yeah.
Well, the big thing. Oh, of course, I forgot to mention that I also watched something else. I watched Superman over the weekend.
Yes.
I thought this was a great movie.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah. I wrote a review about it this week, but it's I just think it's hitting for people in a way that I think is really fun. It's a very fun movie. It's an event movie.
Yes.
It's got a good message of making people feel good, I think. It's really good. Yeah.
I had like mid to high tier expectations. Like I didn't expect it to blow me away. I didn't expect, like, you know, especially with superhero movies lately, I expected it to be good, but I didn't expect like to love it. And I don't think it was like the best movie ever, but or even necessarily like the best superhero movie ever. But it's my favorite superhero movie I've seen in a while. And I think most importantly, it got me really excited to watch more of this universe, this new DC James Gunn universe. I'm like, I'm really excited about it because it is a movie that sets up its universe really well. And that I think is the most successful part of this movie. I thought the performances were really good. I thought the characters were really fun. The plot lines were really fun. I've seen some people say that it felt too complicated or like there were too many characters, which I think is kind of actually a wild statement because I didn't feel that way at all. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I think honestly, like it would be hard for you to go into this movie and not have at least a good enough time to feel like you didn't waste your time.
I one thing I heard someone talk about it that I thought was a really good point is that the way in which this movie feels like a comic book and not in a bad way, in which like I think that it is okay. Like the prologue for this movie is so extremely well done in the way they set up a lot of information that's enough for us to be like, oh, okay. And one of the things I heard was like this movie kind of feels like, you know, when you start reading comics, if you're like I did this a few years ago where I was like, oh, I really love the Batman. And I was like, I've always wanted to read Batman comics. So I went, and it wasn't like I went and went like, I'm going to read the first Batman comic and read them chronologically. You just kind of like find an arc that you've heard is good. This is what I did. And you start reading. And of course, like sometimes that means that like, there's Bizarro Batman and like, you know, oh, the Joker is the president of the United or whatever, you know, whatever silly comic book thing is happening. And I feel like that's a really smart. I feel like James Gunn got that really well to be like, we don't need to do like, imagine nobody knows who Superman is before. And Superman is a very good IP to do this because like we know a lot about Superman, but you can just jump in and be like, these are all the things that are kind of happening that you maybe need to know about. And we're just going to put you in the story. And there's an immersion to that I thought was really good. And it's, yeah, I think I do think that sometimes the movie is at its weakest when it's other characters who again aren't like we're not so centrally on Superman, but I don't think it's bad and there's too many characters, but I do think sometimes it's weaker than the main plot. But you know, this movie is not like 3 hours, you know, it's a solid 2, which is good.
Exactly what it should be. Yeah, I mean, if Marvel did a thing where they did a bunch of origin stories and then linked them all together with the Avengers, and now they're kind of like continuing to do that, like more new origin stories, and then more connecting, and then like every time you see somebody from another movie enter into a movie that like they have an entrance, it's like here's this person in this movie, and it's like sometimes there's a team up, but it's also often like, well, where is everyone? There's a massive universe ending threat here, and like it's just this dude. Whereas James Gunn in the first real movie entry into this new rebooted universe said, I'm dumping you right in, and everyone's around, like they're divvying out the tasks, and like one of the few people you might recognize from a previous IP, like Peacemaker, he'll have like a small cameo in a very funny way, but he doesn't need like a big like entrance or anything, and so, you know, I think that I really appreciate the approach. I like how fresh it feels, and yeah, like I said, it gets me excited to continue to live in this world.
So they have announced that Supergirl is coming in. Is it next year, 2027? I can't remember.
Next year, yeah.
I think end of next year. But also they're doing a Clayface movie. I think we talked about this. Where I'm like, I like that choice so much because it's such a weird little, you know, choice to pluck out of it. And then they're gonna do like a small budget horror movie, and I'm like, that's perfect, you know. So yeah, I agree that Peacemaker comes back. I think August 11th. I think is the date of the premiere. So, you know, getting more of it. I agree with you. I think it was such, you know, a very good entry point into this new universe. So I liked
it. Continuing to do really well in the box office as well. Had a very respectable drop from into its second weekend, but This weekend, upcoming, is the Fantastic Four, Marvel's newest foray into the. Oh, this is not wrong one.
You're watching. They actually are re-releasing the 2005 Fantastic Four.
I was like, wait a minute.
No.
The Fantastic Four First Steps is the official title here on IMDb, at least. And this is the much hyped, Fantastic Four movie with Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby. And, this is, it's going to try to trade blows with Superman here.
Yeah, there was a little bit of didn't they? But did James Gunn or Pedro Pascal, one of them tweeted out like it's like Pedro with Superman, and they're like like in costume, and like they're trying to be like we're not competing. But I do think in terms of like it is easy to be like it's Marvel versus DC, and we'll see what happens. But I think I'm very excited for this movie. I'm gonna go see it. Probably Thursday night. I love all four of the people who are the Fantastic Four. I like Pedro, I like Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Ebon Moss-Backrack. So we'll see. I'm hoping this does really well, and I just hope that I hope there isn't so much, which there will be, but I hope there isn't so much of like this being like I hope it's not bad because then it's like now just DC is really good, like because I just the fandom thing I think is bad. I just want them both to be good and both to just do their own thing, So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
We will see. There's also, I believe, a show coming to Hulu, Washington Black. This is with Sterling K. Brown, and this is premiering, I think, in a couple of days. About the 19th century adventures of George Washington Wash Black, an 11-year-old boy on a Barbados sugar plantation who must flee after a gruesome death. Threatens to turn his whole life around. I'm already hearing kind of good things about this, that it might be kind of a fun little show.
Okay, fun. I hadn't heard of this, but I think the cast is good. Sterling K. Brown, Tom Ellis, Rupert Graves. Could be fun.
Could be fun. Really, the only one that caught my eye coming up this week. Not much else that I saw coming.
I believe South Park is it premiering?
South Park is finally starting up after all of its troubles. Yeah.
So I have a little. I think last time we talked about, which is that basically their deal needs to be renewed, and basically there's a disagreement, but from David Ellison, who's going to buy Paramount, about how long. There is a deal basically in place where South Park could like basically go on for another like 10 years, and they could sign a 10-year deal. And David Ellison, and it's about like where those episodes will stream, and David Ellison basically like doesn't want to get locked into a 10-year deal right before he takes over the company. And so that was the disagreement about like why the new episodes weren't coming out, but it does seem like they've settled. I believe they settled like a shorter basically like giving David Ellison what he wanted, which does make sense to a degree. Like he's the one who's going to be buying it, and so he doesn't want to basically give Trey Parker and Matt Stone like a sweet deal because he doesn't know them, which from their side of things I get, and they're whatever. But it's coming out on Wednesday, and the Sandman releases its second part, which is not the rest of it. I believe there's still one more like mega long episode that drops on the 31st, but they're releasing another batch of episodes on Thursday, which I loved the first batch. I don't know if we talked that much about it, but
I have still not caught up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's it then.
That's it.
Okay. Well, turns out jam-packed episode of Tastemakers. We spent a lot of time on the Emmys, but there's some interesting stuff in there.
Yeah.
We will be back next week to talk through some things, maybe a bit of a lighter episode, who knows? But hopefully you enjoyed your time here today on the Tastemakers. In the meantime, check out my book that I wrote about Big Brother. If you're like, hey, I'm a scripted person, I don't really know Big Brother, then this book is exactly for you. This is to help explain what all of the people who are, watching our podcast tend to spend most of their time doing, what I'm spending most of my time doing. Helps explain what's going on there. You'll be knowledgeable about it. And of course, check out all the other stuff I'm doing over on YouTube and Twitch. Grace, anything else to plug?
I started a Substack last week, so I feel like I haven't been able to dive deep on shows and movies. So I launch a subject to do that. It will mostly be probably free articles, and if you want to, every once in a while I might throw a paid one. But I reviewed The Bear season 4, which I think is like perfect, and I reviewed Superman. So those are some spoiler filled reviews. You can check out those. And I also just announced today a new project I'm doing over on the Crying Laughing podcast feed, which is Dr. Amanda and Ariel's podcast feed, where I'm going to be week by week watching the New York Times 100 best movies of the 21st century and reviewing them with guests along the way. So next week I'll be reviewing Superman, and there'll be Memories of Murder, so on and so forth, different people along the way. Taran, I'm sure I'll be asking you to join me at some point. I know Old Boy is on the list,
boy.
pretty high up. So you have like 2 years, basically. You're good for now. But yeah, it's a new project I'm doing over there on their podcast feed. So you want to be subscribed to the Crying Laughing podcast feed to check that out. Everything else I'm doing, you can check out on social media at High From Grace.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us here today, and we will see all of you next time.